Hi, thank you so much for tuning in again. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to you, giving you my opinion on early subdivision or division of your property to your heirs, and my 2 cents on that. So stay tuned. You're watching Own Land in Kenya. I am Solomon Wangwe.
That's good.
Now, many of you may not be dealing with this particular issue yet, especially if you're my age, or you have a few more years left on your clock of life. The issues around who gets your property or who gets to enjoy your assets after you're gone is not one that many people like to think of. In fact, in my parents' generation, it's considered taboo in many cases to think about that before it's time for you to move on, right? I've even heard people say that having that discussion too early means that you are effectively inviting death, right? And so there are all sorts of thoughts and cultural nuances to this issue. So I'm just going to be giving you my opinion as a land investor, as a professional in the industry, and how best to manage your assets in light of future circumstances. To be honest, this is something I'm actually thinking about right now. I'm 39 years old. I have 3 young children. The eldest is 5. Why would I be thinking about that? I heard someone say once that tomorrow is not promised, right? While I tend to believe I'm going to live until I'm 100 years old with all my teeth, have a nice big giant steak and go to sleep when I'm ready to go, I think it's prudent for one to plan for their future now and make provision for eventualities and circumstances that may be out of your control. And so the notion of dividing your property to your heirs, whether they be your children, whether they be fellow shareholders in a company, whether it be a charitable organization that you want to benefit from your life's work after you're gone, it needs to be sorted out now. And I'm not saying that you have to subdivide and, for example, I wouldn't necessarily chop up my assets into 3 portions, one for each of my children right now. I think one has to take proper stock of the legal implications of that, financial cost implications, and just the issues around management of that process. There are many ways to deal with that, including preparing wills early enough, stipulating what ought to happen with your assets, with your property, with your land, should you meet an early death or an untimely death, or not be able to function normally for whatever reason, due to incapacitation and so on. You need to make provision for that so that it's not decided for you. And in many cases, we've seen this in the media in Kenya far too often, where someone who spent their whole life building an empire and accumulating assets and wealth dies, and the families get into all sorts of ugly squabbles in public about who is supposed to get what's supposed to happen with the property. That shouldn't be. Make provision early, decide who is supposed to get what, when, and this is something you can even revise on an annual basis, as we were recently advised by an attorney, an advocate who happens to be a family friend, and so it's something that we're doing. It's a wise thing to do, it's a prudent thing to do, especially if you're going to spend a lot of time and effort building assets and making investments that may take longer than you might be alive to enjoy, right? So don't run away from the issue. Grab the bull by the horns, have the difficult conversations with whomever you need to have it with, and get things structured right now. I hope that helps. As always, get the professional services of licensed advocates with this issue, the issue of succession, preparing wills and testaments. They will be invaluable to you in thinking around how to do so. Share your comments, subscribe. We're happy to hear from you. All our social media platforms are up and running. You're watching Own Land in Kenya. I'm Solomon Wangwe. Stay tuned for more information on strategic land investment.